I know it's been a little while since I've done a crop update. We went on a week vacation. I've never been on a week vacation since we've been married, or taken a whole week, you know, 2 or 3 days at the most. And so we went, and I'm loading that up on the YouTube too, so if you want to see kind of what we've been doing. You know, I like rodeos, I like horses, I like cattle. So that's usually the main focus of my vacations when I do take them. But I came home, I knew it was dry when I left. It's even drier when I got home. We had heat indexes in the hundreds, upper 90s, 100 degrees. Doesn't make for good crops when you're dry. In the soybeans, it's a little windy out there, so I'm going to start in my own yard here, showing you what's going on, telling you a little bit of an update. We've got all kinds of things happening in the beans now as far as clover worms are attacking it. We've got a few grasshoppers out there. We've got thistle caterpillars. We got aphids. So I'm going to start out just showing you a little bit of how you find the thistle caterpillars. I haven't covered that in the past, so I'm going to put the camera down. And I'll just give you kind of a little review here. Thistle caterpillars, they like to roll the leaves up and kind of make a nest in there. And if you open those up, sure enough, right there you've got your thistle caterpillar. And they make a web nest. If you have dicamba, if dicamba is drifted into your soybeans, crumpled up the leaves, I guarantee you got tons of thistle caterpillar. They loved to go after those fields that have dicamba damage in them, that have crinkled up the leaves, and you just get a field thick of them. But this is what they do, they roll up those leaves. So if you start to see some leaves together, open them up, you can kind of get an example of, or a little bit of assessment of how many thistle caterpillar you got out there. We've got all kinds of things happening out there. So I'm going to go out into the windy field next. May have to shut down the sound, I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes, and show you a little bit what's going on out there, because so far I've found green clover worms, grasshoppers, thistle caterpillars, aphids, the whole works. So next week it does look like we will be spraying. So to get a good decent spray today is about $7.50. Figure another $2.50 spraying it myself. So, you know, for about that another $10 an acre you got to put into that crop, and at this point we don't even know if it's going to be worth it. But on the other hand, we don't know that it's not going to be worth it either, because I've got some decent soybeans yet that could do a pretty good crop if we could pull out some rains. Right now it doesn't look very promising, but you just don't know that. So you have to do the best you can for that crop until it comes to maturity, and hope for the best. So let's take a look out at the field, and we'll take a quick look at a few cornfields too. You can see how they're kind of drying up. It's not looking real promising at this point. So let's go out to the field. I'm on a soybean field here where it's kind of interesting. I'm not seeing as many aphids as I thought, but if we look real close, right there you see that worm on the soybean plant moving around. That's green clover worm. Very small one. We see a lot of holes in the leaves, and those holes, yeah, there are a lot of green clover worms, but we got grasshoppers out here too, so they're eating away. The green clover worms are eating away. In this field I haven't seen any thistle caterpillar yet. I'm sure if I kept walking I'll start running into some. Let's see what else. Oh, I was surprised I'm not seeing like a lot of aphids, but it is very dry here. Just give you a look. As you see, the soybeans are really starting to suffer some heavy dryness, drought conditions. They are putting on a fair amount of pods yet, but those pods are gonna amount to really nothing much if we can't get some rain. It's definitely tougher conditions than drought conditions than I've seen in quite some time. Last year we had the iron chlorosis problem so bad This year we beat that, only to have a drought problem. So that's become probably our most major concern at this point. So this is hard. These are hard decisions here, but we're seeing a lot of feeding here from green clover worms and some grasshoppers. So we're definitely going to have to be looking at spraying this, I would say, pretty quickly. Otherwise, we could see some major damage. We could still salvage quite a bit of a crop here if we could get a rain. You know, it's always if the moisture comes. Now, when I was out in west, you get out west of the Missouri River especially, but even southwest of here, not that far, they've really had some really good rains. Crops look excellent out in that area. The pastures look full and green, 4-foot tall grass out west. They're not usually, they don't see that, so things are just kind of reversed this year. We're not getting the rain and they are, which is extremely unusual. And so it's good for them, not so good for us, I guess, but that's the way it goes. You invest what you can in a crop and do the best you can, but you can't always control every variable. I was just talking about thistle caterpillar. Here we go, right here, thistle caterpillar. So you start to open up these leaves, as I showed you earlier, and there it is. So we got those out here too. And we're seeing a lot of feeding. Here's some very serious feeding. You know, probably, you know, should have sprayed it maybe already today. We don't really want to see that, especially over 15% damage in the soybeans at this point in time during the R stage, or the reproductive stage as we call it. Here again, more thistle caterpillar. So we've got some, you know, pretty serious situation developing here with those two. I think that one has already moved on to its next stage. So yeah, we're seeing some damage there. So a fair amount of damage from thistle caterpillar as well. But still our drought situation tops every issue right now. Ground is so dry, we just haven't gotten the rains this year. So that's the way this field looks as well, and I'm sure every field from now on is going to look the same way. It's a little windy out of the north, so I picked this field because I'm protected a little bit by the grove here. I'm going to take a quick look at the corn, and you'll see what we're facing there as well. I'm not going to go into detail on that one in this video. I'll do another one for that, and we'll dig up some roots and see how they look. That's a little harder to do too when it gets this dry, but we'll go ahead and take a look. We're just going to end this video with a little bit on the corn here. I'm just going to give you just kind of a quick view. As you can see, we're looking at some very severe drought conditions for this corn, which really changes the plans I had. I wanted to put 2 gallons of Coron on. Looked like we had a great year set up anyway for having some real bumper yields. We can pretty much safely say the bumper yields are off the table now, even if it does rain. Seeing a lot of that dryness, and when you get to be this dry, this is the hard part because of the lack of moisture in the ground, the roots aren't going to be able to extract that nitrogen that's in the soil up into the plant as well. So in that case, you look at it and you say, well, maybe I should put Coron on, because then it can at least extract it through the leaves. And there's a case to be made for that. With no real prospects of getting any good rains here in the next 10 days, it probably isn't going to help, because without the moisture, it's still just not going to be able to fill well. These are the hard decisions the person has to make, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So knowing that I had enough nitrogen in the soil for a great crop to begin with, if we do get that moisture, or that rain does come, it's going to be able to extract that nitrogen better out of the soil, and therefore may do just as well anyway. So there's different ways of taking a look at that, and it's hard. You know, we've got we're getting larger areas of this drought-stricken corn. On the other hand, there's some areas of the field that are doing quite well yet. And so the corn may help that even make up some of the difference for the areas that are seeing more damage. It's a tough decision to make, and I guess I'll let you know what I make in the future on a future video. Otherwise, there isn't a lot to tell you. You know, we're at brown silk, so this is the time to put the corn on if a guy's going to. You know, otherwise, I haven't taken a real good look at it yet, and so I should maybe wait. I'll do a corn update here for the next video. I'm going to take a little bit better look at the corn to make sure I give you a real accurate assessment of how the corn is. But I just wanted to give you kind of a feel of, you know, what we're looking at, you know, this date, which, if I remember right, it's July 28th today. I can't even remember. I think so. It might be the 29th. I gotta look at the calendar again. Can't remember. But so, you know, we're at July's used up. We've only got 1 month to go here, basically. And growing season will be starting to see an ending to it. So this corn here is the Pioneer 0075Q. It's an excellent corn. It's very high yielding corn. At this point, as we can see, it's not looking like that in this area of the field anyway. So until the next video, we'll see ya.